Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comic review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that you can get this week from your local comic book store, whether you shop here at Infinity Flux, over at infinityflux.net, or at your own local comic book store. We're here to let you know a little bit more about what to expect of all these books. It can be overwhelming when you walk into a comic book store or you go online and you see all those books. Maybe we'll help out a little bit with that. But if you want to order them, make sure you go ahead and do that now because, as always, supplies are limited and there's some big ones this week you don't want to miss out on. But without further ado, let's get into this week's big mess of comics.
Yeah, and real quick, this is probably the biggest week that we've had so far count-wise. But what's also crazy is there aren't really many super huge number ones as well, too. So it's just like a bunch of good books that just have been coming out for a while, but there were so many of them. We read so many books this week, so we might go through these just a little bit more quickly because there's a lot this time.
A lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, so let's start with the Summer of Supergirl special. This is a one-shot that contains 3 different stories. And the first of those, the main story, is from Sophie Campbell and Belen Ortega, and it's a continuation of Lobo number 4 that came out last week. And in that issue was really fun. Lobo and Supergirl just really went at each other. They didn't hold back. There was a big fight all through space. Well, at the end of that issue, they wound up in space jail, I guess, behind bars. So when this story starts, they are in court, and for the fight that they got into, and there's not really a trial, but Supergirl is able to get out with bail, and Lobo's dog is...
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's with a W.
With a W, yeah. Dog is remanded to Crypto's custody, which is really fun. Meanwhile, Lobo is sentenced to a 30-day anger management program in this, like, self-help facility kind of place. So those 30 days pass, and Lobo comes to Earth, specifically to Midvale, because he wants to get Dog back from Supergirl and Crypto. And I don't want to get too much into it, but Supergirl and Lobo are still in a disagreement as to what their fight was about and who won and all that stuff. And it leads to more, let's just say, hilarity across Midvale. It's really fun. It also has a kind of a heartwarming ending as well. It's a little bit atypical for Lobo, but it works really well. Lobo also has a couple cool looks in this story, which is really fun. Supergirl and Lobo, they are a great duo. They're a great pair.
I feel like this is as much a Lobo story as a
for
Supergirl
sure.
story. It's about 50-50.
Yeah. So the second story is a little bit shorter. It's from Gail Simone and Emma Kubert, and it's a really fun team up between Supergirl and Mary Marvel as they work together to stop a power absorbing android called Amazonia. And so they work really well together, and that's really fun. But what I liked about this book is after that fight, they actually hang out together a little bit just as Kara and Mary. And I've always thought stories were cool when superheroes hang out together in their like civilian identities. I like that. And then the last story is a short story from Mark Waid and Cian Tormey that's all about trying to reconcile Supergirl's pretty complex history to not every single piece of it, but she has a pretty complex backstory. And so this is all about reconciling all that to make it all work within one single character history. And Mark Waid does a pretty good job of that. So
and it kind of equals up to, wow, look how amazing Supergirl is and what she's accomplished and everything.
Everything she's had to go through and how she was able to come out for the better. So yeah, overall, this is a really fun book. It comes out at the right time. We're going to go see Supergirl this week. We're really excited for it. If you go see it and you're jonesing for more Supergirl afterwards, this will be a great book to get. I also highly recommend picking up Lobo number 4 that came out last week. You don't need to have read any Lobo before that. You don't even really need to know that much about him. It's just a fun book that with a fight between him and Supergirl, and then it continues in this issue, and it's great. It's really, really fun. So this is our A cover right here, and there's some nice variants. This is the Doomquest Evely variant, your artist on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the book that the movie is based on. We have this Villa Lobos variant. This is the Tula Lotte variant. And then we have, is this the Asrar? Yeah,
Yeah.
Mahmoud Asrar variant. That's the Supergirl, that's the Supergirl movie variant, yeah.
Well, moving over to Marvel, I've actually got a double dose of Ultimate for you. So, starting off, we have Ultimate Endgame number 5. This is the big final showdown with the Maker, the Ultimates, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Wolverine, basically all the characters that we've seen and who are still alive and around in the Ultimate Universe are either taking the Maker on head first or given wherever they are, they still have to stop parts of the Maker from taking over the entire planet because his reach is that big.
Mhm.
Um, we also see Doom, which is Reed Richards in this, go through a pretty big transformation into something that can take on the Maker that's really interesting. I didn't fully understand everything or how it happened in this. It does play a lot into some of the earlier Fantastic Four centric issues about,
Right.
him experimenting and trying to create the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four.
Like the two issues that Phil Noto did the artwork
Yeah.
for, this borrows heavily from those.
Yeah, and those I didn't fully understand. So when we get here, I was like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna ride this one out and just assume that to other people it does make sense. But there's a pretty definite end to the Maker story in here. Everything gets kind of wrapped up. I don't want to say too much about how it does because there's a lot of speculation about the Ultimate Universe and how it ends. So I don't want to get into that, but I will move on to the Ultimate Universe finale. Now, I do highly recommend if you're getting Ultimate Endgame, get Ultimate Finale.
Yeah.
Because this is almost like
An epilogue.
an epilogue
Yeah.
to that story. I don't want to say so this does have multiple stories in it. We knew that going into it that kind of cover the Ultimate Spider-Man universe or book story, Black Panther, X-Men, Wolverine, and the Ultimates are all told in here. And I don't want to give away if it takes place before, after, during, or whatever, because I don't want to reveal who lives and who dies and all that kind of stuff. But it does kind of, I would say, some wrap up some of the stories more than others. But what is the world that they are inhabiting at this point? You're gonna have to read it to find out. But some pretty big stuff in here. I really enjoyed the Ultimate Spider-Man story just because it's nice to be back. Marco Cicchetto is doing the art on that, so that's really fun.
Yeah, it's good to see the Parker family again.
Yeah. But again, you have to read to find out when does this take place.
Definitely read Ultimate Endgame number 5 before this, or you will spoil a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so this has all the creators in here of Hickman and Hill and Caselli and Condon and Capuccio and Dennis Camp for Gary and Peach Momoko. So you've got kind of your original teams on all the books coming back to tell just a couple of page story from their book. But yeah, very interesting. And people will be talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think more than issue number 5. This is a bigger deal in some regards, even though I don't know what to make of some of it. You'll have to find out for yourself because I'm not giving it away. My lips are sealed.
Be sure as you're reading through this, turn all the pages all the way to the back of the book because there's a bit of a post-credit scene of sorts.
Yeah.
And you might be interested in that too.
Yeah. So we've got our A cover here. I love this one. This is the Ryan Stegman cover. We have a Marvel Rivals variant. We have a Peach Momoko cover. We have this Ben Sue foil cover. This one's really nice, a spot foil. And then we also have for in-game, we have the 1 in 25 Terry Dodson cover. We're selling for $14.99. And for the finale, we have this 1 in 25 Kale New cover. We're selling for $9.99.
All right, well, sort of, kind of keeping along those same lines, we
It
have
has some of the same words in the
yeah,
title.
right. This is Ultimate Impact Reborn, I think is the correct order of the title. This is number two. And in this one, this cover actually is very representative of what this issue was about because this is largely a Punisher story. Punisher is going from one group of bad guys to another, just sort of taking out like drug dealers and muggers and things like that, until he runs into Hostilicus, which is one of the new characters that was introduced last issue, and this is the one that is kind of like Captain Marvel. When I guess last issue there were two kids that found the Nega bands, I think from the Ultimate Universe, and
Yeah.
they clang them together, and then Hostilicus shows up. So a lot of this issue is Punisher taking on Hostilicus, and it's interesting because Hostilicus is way more physically powerful than the Punisher. So how does he deal with that? We do get a few scenes of the other new characters as well that were introduced last issue, but it's mostly this right here. There's hardly any Miles in the book at all, only just a little bit at the beginning. Again, it's mostly the Punisher. But there is some really good action and some really good artwork in this too. So if you like the first issue and you like all the new characters that we got introduced to, then you'll definitely want to check this one out right here. So that's the A cover, and we have this 1 in 25 Manhanini variant that we're selling for $14.99.
And moving on over to Image, we have a new one in the Universal Monsters line of books. It's Universal Monsters Blood of the Wolfman #1. This is from Joshua Williamson, and the art is by Leomax. Joshua Williamson has written some of my favorite horror stuff like Nailbiter, Dark Ride, so many awesome horror books. So when I saw that his name was attached to this, I was really excited. So in this, now this is Universal Monsters, so this is in the universe of your original Wolfman, but you have to read it to find out how it's really tied with the classic film, because this takes place, I believe, in modern day. We meet Adam Yeager, who is an 18-year-old art student, but he's a little awkward, and he's going to his first like high school or freshman in college party, and he's a little weird, but people kind of point at him and stuff, but he ends up making a friend there, this girl who's also like, yeah, I don't go to many parties. Everything is going well until one person looks out the window and kind of pulls the curtains open and says, hey, check out this full moon. And then stuff happens. Now, no big surprise to say that our main character is said Wolfman.
What?
But the real thing is, how is he a Wolfman? And what about his family? His dad that he kind of goes back and forth with is desperately trying to kind of cover up that his son has this thing, and how is it tied in with his family legacy? You'll have to find out, but it is really interesting. It's pretty scary. It's pretty brutal. But I think the more interesting story here, other than just a Wolfman attacking stuff, is the like, what will this father do to cover up what his son has done, and kind of like, even if he's in the wrong, he is guilty of doing these things. How much does family kind of override that? So it's really interesting. It is as much like a family book as it is a Wolfman book. And it looks really interesting going forward as we uncover more of the past and how the original Lon Chaney Jr. movie is tied in with this. So if you're a Universal Monsters fan, I think this is one of my favorite ones I've read in quite a while. It's really, really fun. So we've got our A cover here. That is by your interior artist. We also have a Joshua Middleton cover with a very classic Wolfman on there. We have a blank sketch cover. We have a Talaski variant. This is the one, I'm going to guess 1 in 50 or 1 in 25 or something for $39.99. And then we also have one here, incentive for $14.99. It's the Middleton, but black and white. And lastly, we have the Maria Wolf. This one is really cool. We're selling for $9.99.
Next up, we have X-Men Outback #1. This is written by Steve Orlando and the art is by Steven Segovia. And in this book, the X-Men go to a steakhouse. They order a bloomin' onion.
There it
They have a
is.
couple
There
of
it is.
Fosters. I've been waiting all week for that. No, this takes place right after the X-Men moved to the Outback in the pages of Uncanny X-Men back in the 80s. And this kind of just shows like what are they doing while they're there, right?
Mhm.
So each one of them kind of are dealing with this new status quo in different ways. For example, Dazzler is not really happy about it because she wants to be in the limelight, and now they are just like hiding out in the Australian outback. But Storm is all about it. She really likes it for them, so they each have their own different opinions of this new status quo for them. But a lot of this issue centers around Sabretooth because Sabretooth it's getting close to Wolverine's birthday, and Sabretooth always tracks down
He always
Wolverine.
celebrates his
Yeah.
birthday.
So Sabretooth has been tracking down Wolverine, and he's actually able to find him. And he finds some clues in a cabin somewhere, and he's like, I knew that the X-Men weren't dead, or I knew that Wolverine wasn't dead, because that was the thing at the time. Everybody thought the X-Men was dead. So Sabretooth actually finds them at their Outback hideout, and a lot of the issue is the X-Men fighting Sabretooth and these two big mutant dogs that he brings with him. It's pretty brutal. It's pretty bloody. It's pretty bloody for a non-red band book. There's claw marks and there's guts ripped out and there's all kinds of things like that. But it's a lot of action. The artwork is really good. And I don't really know like if there's going to be maybe a through line through this whole mini series, because the Sabretooth story is pretty much wrapped up in this, and next issue they're going to deal with another threat. So I don't know if it's going to be like a Monster of the Week kind of thing, or if there is going to be a larger story. But if you like this time period for the X-Men, then this just gives more detail and more insight into that. So there is your A cover right there, and we've got some nice variants. This is the Villalobos variant with Psylocke. We have the Anka variant. This is really awesome. This is the Kari Andrews spot foil variant, and that looks really nice. And then we have the 1 in 25 Aka variant that we're selling for $9.99.
Well, we do have an absolute book this week, and that is Absolute Wonder Woman issue 21. So this is part one of a 2-issue mini story arc with guest art by their last name is Snook, which I'm not familiar with, but is really cool. And in this picks up where Diana basically has to like serve um, because of the deal she made in a previous issue, she has to return back to Hell and serve some time there um, before she can come back. And she kind of left at the worst time where she was trying to get a lot done and look for her friends and all that. Well, now that Diana is back in Hell, she discovers back on her home little island and everything that her mother, Cersei, is missing, and it looks like has been taken. There are signs of a struggle, all of that, and so Wonder Woman is going to try to track down where Cersei has gone, and she believes that it had to have been the work of one of Hell's monsters that are down there, which are pretty classic Greek mythological creatures that are really cool. And so she is going to go kind of monster by monster to try and find which one did this, and it's pretty cool where it starts.
I didn't get a chance to read this over the weekend,
Yeah.
so I wanted to see what the artwork is like. It's very Hayden Sherman
Yeah,
reminiscent.
they didn't.
Yeah,
It doesn't throw you off by a
not too much.
dramatic
Right,
change.
right.
Now, the other kind of the B story in this is Barbara Minerva, who Wonder Woman was trying to rescue before she got taken back to Hell, is trapped in Area 41X, where she is um, in close quarters with something that will be familiar to Wonder Woman fans, and has a god who is talking to her and kind of trying to work out a deal with her for a partnership that if you also know Wonder Woman and you've been following this, you'll kind of see where it's going. But it's still really cool to see how that is going to play out in here. But just a 2 issue mini story before I'm sure they get back into a bigger story with Hayden Sherman and all of that. But for this one, I'm really interested because it kind of just begins with a pretty big mystery. We do find out some stuff at the end, what might have happened with Cersei, but we don't know the extent of it by the end. So really fun issue of Absolute Wonder Woman. Of course, highly recommend. We've got our A cover here. We also have a really nice David Nakayama cover. And we also have, this is Giuseppe Camuncoli, kind of our fight with the Tetracide.
All right. Well, to sort of go along with that, we have Absolute Superman number 20.
It's like we planned this.
I know, right? This is Reign of the Superman Part 3. This might be my pick of the week. I need to think about it a little bit more, but this issue is so good. I do think this is the best issue of the series so far.
And that's saying something.
That's saying something, and this definitely has the biggest fight of the series so far. Most of this issue is one big fight, and it's like an anime fight. It's feats of strength galore as a Spider-Man, Superman, Hawkman.
What?
Superman, I know, spoiler, Spider-Man's a crossover. No, Superman, Hawkman, and Steel take on King Shazam. And the sheer impact that this one fight has on the entire planet is insane. And even the description of what's happening is something. I mean, it's on another level.
They're like god level.
They're god. Yeah, this is a god level fight. And while all this fight is happening, Superman is also zooming around the planet, trying to make sure that nobody dies from the crazy fallout of this giant fight. And that's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, it's humongous. I don't know that I've ever even really seen main universe Superman go to this levels before, and definitely I don't think I've seen Black Adam in the main universe have this much like feats of strength before. So
and Hawkman can keep up with them.
Oh,
which
sure,
is cool.
yeah.
So can Steel.
Yep.
And I want to say I've liked the Hawkman in this series so far. I think he's really cool, but he has some really good moments, not just like fight moments, but like character moments in this that I think are really, really cool. And yeah, like you said before, where this ends, the final page is like, didn't see that, and I don't know what's gonna happen. Panel 1 of the next issue, I'm waiting to see what's gonna go down.
The last page of this is one of the coolest last pages of any Absolute book so far. I think the fight in this is the biggest of probably any Absolute book that we've gotten from Wonder Woman or Batman. I mean, I think the only one that can compete with is maybe that big final battle between Batman and Bane. But this is also just bonkers crazy.
This is bigger in scope.
This is bigger in planetary impact than that, right? But so just another great issue of Absolute Superman. This is only getting better and better, and I like it more and more as Superman adopts that his role in the world more. He's not really shying away from the role of protector of the world like he did in maybe the earlier issues. He's finally embracing being Superman, and man, this issue is just bonkers. It's so good. So this is the A cover. There's some nice variants. This is the one I got. It's the David Nakayama connecting variant. This is the Juan Ferreira variant. He's coming back to this book to do a few more issues, I think, maybe after this story arc is done. And then this is the John Jane variant.
Well, jumping back over to Image once again, we have Corpse Night number 3. We are loving this book. It is so much fun. Such a mix of horror plus fairy tale. I know fairy tales have a lot of horror in them, but the way this reads and kind of flows almost feels like you're reading a storybook. So in this, Foy, who is seeking help for her father, the titular Corpse Knight, ends up somewhere, someone who she thinks she can trust. I don't want to give away too much because it is really interesting, but in turn gets double-crossed because of who her father is, and is actually poisoned. Foy is poisoned, and now it is up to her father, the Corpse Knight, to seek help for her. And that's going to be really interesting because he can't speak. We don't even know how much of his father humanity
Yeah.
is left in there. It seems to be something left, but
Yeah, I think it's he instinctually is taking care of her the way
yeah.
a father would, but yeah, is he aware of what's going on or what? We don't know.
Yeah, and of course, it's going to be hard to find someone who's going to welcome in this knight who is, littered with arrows sticking out of his back and all of that. But he might find a place on their search for Joan of Arc, and that is getting closer and closer. And I'm very interested to see what's going to happen when they get there. But yeah, another great issue. I got to call out colors for Rico Renzi on this. It is beautiful, just rich, and the greens and purples and stuff. You would think a book called Corpse Night would be gray and brown and all that, but
Right.
it's a very colorful, very pretty book, just with a awesomely designed Corpse Night character.
Yeah, there's a couple panels that use colors to convey like the severity of what's happening
Yeah.
at that moment too, which is really nice.
Yeah, so if you're not checking it out, check out Corpse Night. It is one of my favorite Image independent books
Yeah.
coming out right now. So here is your A cover. We also have a De Felici cover. So there's your Red Roots creator. We also have a 1 in 10 cover. This one is by Zunjik, and we are selling it for $7.99. And then we also have a 1 in 25 cover by Malavia that we're selling for $19.99. We got introduced to this new character in the previous issue.
Yeah.
They don't show up in
Right.
here, but it is kind of a looming threat for them.
Yeah. Next, we have Doomquest #2, and the first issue was really cool, especially the end when we saw Doctor Doom get transported back in time to 1912 aboard the Titanic. Now, it's not, and he not only that, he's back in 1912 on the Titanic just hours before it crashes into the iceberg. But it's not him physically; it's his mind that went back. And it got dropped into the body of somebody who was actually there, just a regular guy.
He just so happens to be wearing Doom colors.
Right, yeah, it's very
so
convenient, yeah. But so Doom doesn't, and that's why people aren't freaking out that, oh, there's this weird armor guy, because no, to them he looks like just one of the people there.
But I like when we read it, we just see
Doom, yeah.
And so it's fun to see him in these situations.
It's more fun that we get to see Doom do these things because it just looks so out of place. But to the people there, he looks normal. So he doesn't have his armor, he doesn't have his weapons. But as he makes mention, I still have my mind, and that's the most dangerous weapon I possess. So he is going to set out to, I don't want to say too much. He is going to set out to make sure that he doesn't die when the Titanic crashes, and that's all I'll say. Now, there's also a bit of a twist to this that I didn't expect, and it made it more fun.
I have some questions about what triggers this.
Right. I think the answer may be don't worry about it.
Yeah, but
it may be one of those don't worry about it things.
But it makes it even more fun that there is this little twist to it.
Yeah.
Because you just get more Doom doing Doom
things.
Yeah, just upping his game. And yeah, I think this is also one of the best like written versions of Doom.
Yeah.
Because it's got that voice.
For sure, yeah. I mean, so, a good way to describe this is quantum leap.
Mm-hmm.
He jumped into the body of different people and had to do something before he could get out. So this is a lot like that, but also with a bit of an added twist as well. And it's really fun. So if you just want to read some Doctor Doom stuff, read this. It's not typical Doom. It's Doom in an environment that he wouldn't normally be in. And this is not, again, when we mentioned when we talked about the first one, don't worry about when this takes place. This is just a Doctor Doom story. You don't have to worry about, oh, wait, he's in hell right now. We'll talk about that in a minute, but don't worry about any of that. This is just a story of Doctor Doom. That's all you got to know, and it's really cool.
I mean, if you ever want to see Doom on the Titanic, and with his knowledge about the Titanic,
in all my years of reading Doctor Doom, I always thought, what would it want to be like if he's on the Titanic? And now I have that answer 40 years later.
He can't help but be Doom.
Yeah.
He can't help but be grandiose and kind of demanding.
Right.
But sometimes it's like, he kind of comes across goofy too, because you're
Yeah.
like, come on, Doom, like,
Yeah. Especially since to those people there, he just looks like a guy, you
yeah.
know. So it's really fun. Yeah, it's really entertaining. Just a fun time, fun
It
read. You know.
feels very much like a companion book to Fantastic Four. It's
Yes.
got that same
Well, it's
levity
still
and
Ryan North, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's still Ryan North writing it, so of course it feels that way.
yeah.
It's great. So this is the A cover, and we have some nice variants. This is the Vecchio homage variant with She-Hulk, who does not show up in this, so don't get your hopes up. And then we have the 1 in 25 Gerald Perel cover that we're selling for $14.99. And then we have the 1 in 50 Himawan variant. This is the Magic the Gathering cover, but this is without the magic stuff on it. I don't. I think maybe we have like one copy of the Magic the Gathering cover. I'm not too sure, but this is the full art variant of that one. It's the 1 in 50. We're selling for $29.99.
And the next issue, you might get your classic Doom on a horse.
I love. Yeah, I
It's
love
on
Doom
the
on a horse.
cover,
Yeah,
so
I love Doom on a horse.
it's like snakes on a plane,
Right.
but Doom on a horse. Well, and next up, I have what is consistently one of our favorite books coming out month to month. This is Superman issue 39. And who knew this story arc of Superboy Prime would be so much fun? Well, we know during the story that the big enemy that has popped up is Manchester Black, but with a power upgrade, and this power upgrade actually kind of has something to do with Superboy Prime. They even kind of tells him in this, it's like, it wasn't until I kind of understood you that I could understand what I could really do. But in this, Manchester Black wants Prime to shatter the universe reality like he did back in Crisis on Infinite Earths and kind of rebuild it.
Infinite Crisis.
Infinite Crisis. Yeah. I get him confused. Infinite Crisis when he punched the wall and changed reality. But he wants him to kind of like, so we can remake the world in the way you want and all of that. But of course, Superboy Prime's not having any of this. He knows, that Manchester Black is the villain. But because of some tricks that Manchester Black learned, he can essentially knock Superboy Prime through. I don't want to say even realities. I mean, it's not like, well, this is Earth, whatever.
Yeah.
They're more like he can knock him through genres.
Right.
So, like you see on the cover, we actually get them fighting over a lot of different
eras
Eras?
Superman, like the animated series is one.
But like Superboy Prime knows, he's like, oh, I'm in this thing.
Yeah.
Or hey, oh, I like there's one thing where he's like, I wasn't old enough for this, but I watched episodes of it
Yeah.
later when I got older and stuff. So it stylistically it changes per thing, and it reminded me of Jorge Jimenez on the Batman.
Oh, right.
Where
right.
it went through a lot of different genres and stuff. It's kind of similar to that. I don't want to give away all of them because that's the fun part, but you get some pretty good 1 or 2 page scenes or kind of genre shifting of the story, and it just gets crazier and crazier. But it's also fun to get kind of Superboy Prime's meta commentary on the books
that's
and
the
the
big selling
genres
point,
he's in that maybe he's a fan of, maybe he's not a fan of.
Now, there's something that happens near the end that I thought, whoa, if this is what's really happening, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And, I won't say if it is or isn't, but
yeah,
there's one part I was like, oh my gosh, this may take a turn.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So, but another great issue. The battle is going to continue into the next issue, and I just want to see more of this. And I'm sad that Superboy Prime is going to be moving on to something else later, because I've really enjoyed this story arc a lot. But I'm enjoying it while it's here. Fantastic art, great story, super fun. So this is your A cover. We also have this Sanford Green variant. We have this really nice Aaron Bartling cover with Witchfire, which is kind of brought up in here.
A little bit, yeah, in an interesting way.
Yep. We also have this Art Germ cover, but this is a Supergirl movie Art Germ cover. And that is all I got for this one.
Well, keeping along those same lines, we have Justice League Unlimited number 20. And this one is really good as
Yeah.
well. This one is up there as one of my top picks of the week as well. So there are two different stories in this one, and the main story is the return of the Brainiac Queen in the Watchtower, which we saw a little bit at the end of last issue, and it's all hands on deck to try to stop her. Batman calls in everybody who is available to take her on, but specifically excludes Lex Luthor. And there's a reason I'm mentioning that, but I'm not going to tell you why. But there is a reason why I'm mentioning that Luthor is excluded from this. And so it's a big fight between a lot of members of the Justice League and the Brainiac Queen. Now the other story in this, the shorter story, and I don't mean to say that they're two separate stories. They're intermixed. There's two different plot
An
points
A and a
going
B
on.
plot.
Yeah. So the other plot point deals with Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl and Metamorpho on an alien planet where the Justice League's power bank has just detonated, and that's the device they created to sort of keep a backup of everybody's powers in case something like absolute power happens again. They'll have a backup. But that power bank just detonated on this planet, and it now gave every life form on that planet the Justice League's powers. And so now they have to figure out how to put the genie back in the bottle and how to keep this from escalating. And that's what you see on the cover here. And I did like this. I mean, this is obviously the characters that were in the Superman movie from last year, but I thought it was cool seeing them together in a comic book. So another great issue of Justice League Unlimited. Fico Ocio does the vast majority of the artwork in here. So it looks great. There's lots of really cool action. There's a really cool cliffhanger ending as well. That's going to lead to another really cool story. So just a really solid, entertaining, action-packed, great-looking issue of Justice League. It's really good. So there's your A cover right there. And that's the only cover we have.
That makes that easy.
Yeah.
Well, next up, I have another new book from Image. This is The Eye Collector. This is from Jonathan Ball and GMB Chamachuk. And I actually read this a while ago. We had an early copy of it. And even then, I think it was right around the time that the book was solicited. I was like, this book is wild. Rereading it, I feel like it's even wilder than what I originally thought. So, when I tell you about this story, the way it's presented is not as narratively coherent as I will say it is. So, astronauts run into an alien. I think they're at like Apollo 14, and they run into an alien who kind of looks like this, a very weird, almost like a D&D beholder type thing, like a one big eye and spikes and stuff. Um, and what I got from reading actually the letter in the back from the writer is a little bit more about this alien and what this alien thinks. So this alien believes that humans and the Earth are the ones in need of aid. You know, the alien almost sees them as like um, a lesser being, and it's like, well, I need to go help them, and so this alien is going to go to Earth and try to help the humans. That's the simple version of it. But what this book feels like when you read it is part poetry and part mechanical manual. Um, it doesn't have a lot of dialogue. It doesn't have a lot of traditional comic panels or like dialogue balloons or anything. It is you'll have pages with no dialogue, and it almost looks like a schematic of how like a lunar module works, or you'll have this alien creature like superimpose over an actual photograph of something else. It's way more. I would say it's even more kind of weird than like Department of Truth with the art style. It's more up to interpretation. It's more like cerebral with some of the characters. Like this cover is a lot of what the interior of the book looks like. It's very almost like found artifacts and stuff. So this will appeal to some people and definitely not to others because it is so weird and the narrative is um, not very straightforward. The most I got out of it was from reading that page in the back from the creator of it, who kind of spelled all of it out. Um, this is going to be a series that covers like a large gap of time from issue to issue and kind of from like first contact to where it goes. But if you see this and you hear this and you like kind of weirder, more artsy stuff, you'll know it's for you. But I if you're a regular like superheroes or adventure or that kind of thing, maybe not so much. Maybe flip through it and decide for yourself. But yeah, it is a very interesting, unique book, and this is your A cover. We also have a Chamachuk variant. Again, this could easily just be a page in the book.
That's a Robo Lincoln from
I know.
Destruction Be Our Lot.
Yeah, and apparently he has an eyeball in his hat.
That's the eyeball from Dork's shield.
Oh my gosh, it's a big crossover.
Yeah, it's a big crossover book.
And then we have an Zawodowski variant. This is a 1 in 25. We're selling for $19.99. Nothing in the book looks this straightforward. That's it.
All right. Well, Captain America number 12 is also very near the top of my top books for the week. This was really good. So this is part one of a new story arc called Hell's Angel. And after the beating that Captain America took at the hands of Red Hulk last issue, he's in a coma. We saw some of that in Avengers Armageddon from a couple weeks ago. And then, he's still in critical condition now. And he's still in that coma, and his body is in the hospital. His soul is in hell. And it sounds super weird that Captain America would go to hell, but there is a reason that he's there, and it involves Doctor Doom, who is also there. And Doom wants Steve Rogers' help to take down Mephisto, which he says will allow him to return to the living world. But he also, this was the interesting part. Doom also wants to help free some other souls that are being tortured in hell, but that he says they don't deserve it. And this issue is a great example of what we've talked about before, about how Doom is a great villain because he's not necessarily straight up evil all the time. He just does whatever he feels is the right thing to do, whether that be good or bad. He's just going to do it regardless. And you would like Doctor Doom is actually he's a little bit shady, but also a little bit heroic. He's like, before we get out of here, we need to save some other souls because they don't deserve to be here. That's very atypical Doom, but that's what he feels he needs to do, so he's going to do it. So very cool. We see Captain America, take on a couple of demons in this, so there's some good action. I'm very excited by the last page, and if you look at some other covers for some upcoming issues, you might get a little bit of a hint as to what that means. But another great story arc. I like the artwork. It's cool seeing Steve Rogers walk through literally hell and encountering demons. It kind of harkened back to that Rick Remender run of Captain America where he's in Dimension X or whatever, Dimension Z, was it? Dimension Z, I think. It's Captain America in an environment and a situation that you wouldn't normally associate with him, but an amazing issue of Captain America. And it's cool too because he keeps thinking to himself, I need to get back to the surface world because the Red Hulk is up there doing some bad things, and he's tearing apart Latveria, and so that kind of has some connective tissue to what's going on in Avengers Armageddon, even though he doesn't know the specifics. But it's cool that this is all sort of, it's very obvious that he's doing this while the heroes are dealing with Red Hulk, and it all fits together very, very well.
Does he have his shield in hell?
No.
Okay.
No, he doesn't. He when he first wakes up in hell, he is naked as a jaybird, but that doesn't persist the whole time. So it's really good though. Great issue. So this is the A cover. This is the Alex Ross Marvel Dimensions variant. This is the Corey Smith variant with Doctor Doom. This is the Mark Spears Magic the Gathering variant. And we have the Martin Coccolo 1 in 25 variant that we're selling for $14.99.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
Well, next up, I have our final issue of Nectar. This is Nectar issue 4. And I can't say too much about it because this does wrap up this very short miniseries. But it has been one of our favorite books coming out since it launched because it just feels so different and is such a unique concept. But I will say, there is room for more Nectar after this. But something is introduced in this issue that I wouldn't even have guessed in previous issues that completely kind of changed the game about what is going on. Raises many more questions about the nature of these butterflies and what they're capable of and where they from. And I'll say the world gets bigger
Yeah.
in this issue of Nectar, but I loved it. A great finale for this. Hopefully, the first story. I won't say or not if it teases more,
I'd like to see more.
but yeah, but the door is open for more. And yeah, if you've been reading it, don't miss out on this final issue because it really cements itself as
Yeah.
one of the coolest original series this year. There is your A cover. We also have, of course, our black bag variant. We've got this 1 in 10 Jonathan Wayshak variant that we're selling for $9.99. We've got a 1 in 20 Manhouse variant that we're selling for $14.99. There's some good just desserts served up in this
Right.
one as
Yeah.
well too. We've got a 1 in 30 Jonathan Wayshak variant we're selling for $29.99. And another 1 in 30 a Man House variant we're selling for at $29.99.
Well, I've got a new one from Mad Cave. This is Bludwire #1. This is written by Paul Allure, and the art is by Aramis Blanco. And so I'm going to show you the cover. Those are your two main characters right here. The more human, those are, okay, so both of those characters are androids. The more human looking character, her name is Ace, and they're known as, like, I think they're known as like pleasure bots. And I'll let you figure that out for yourself. But the more human looking one here, her name is Ace, and she rescues her girlfriend, which is the more robot looking one named Zora, who is another pleasure bot. But of course, she doesn't look quite as human. But Zora is in captivity with a bunch of other of these robots, so Ace breaks her out of that. And Zora has a database or a list of some kind in her memory. We don't really know what it is yet. I think maybe by the end you could sort of figure it out, but Ace breaks her out because she's her girlfriend and wants to free her, but also she's got this database and she needs to get that too. So a lot of this issue is them being chased by this robot police officer. And it seems like some robots in this world are much more sentient and lifelike, like our two characters here, than maybe some other robots. The police robot is a lot more like, programming and just, following a prime directive and that kind of thing. And so they're being chased by this robot police officer, and Ace wants to free. My notes don't make sense here. Ace wants to free all of the robots basically from having to do the things that she's had to do as a pleasure robot. She doesn't want any other robots to have to do that. So yeah, so this whole issue is basically just the rescue attempt and then them being chased by that robot. But it does seem like by the time we get to the end, it's going to open up to a much bigger story than that. But the artwork is really good. This isn't really overly stuffed with dialogue. The artwork tells a lot of the story here, and it looks really good. So very interesting. As if you're into like future, maybe a little bit cyberpunk, a little bit dystopian sci-fi, then this will probably scratch that itch for you. So there is the A cover, and we have this Mirka and Dolfo cover as well.
Very nice. Well, next up, one of my other favorite indie image books. There's so many of them now. We are in a good time for these creator-owned series. Is Red Roots issue number 3. This book is crazy. Every issue gets wilder and wilder. I'll say in this one, we don't get a whole lot more answers.
Right.
We just get deeper into whatever is going on. So our two characters, the teacher and the, I guess, assassin or secret agent or whatever he is, now they're in this maybe this other world or other dimension or wherever they are. Now that they're kind of getting their footing, they each are given jobs. Um, One, the teacher is, for one reason, is sent to the infirmary, but while she's there, actually has to start helping out. And then the assassin guy uh, is basically sent to the battlefield. But the real question here is, what is this battle?
Yeah.
That is the big question
And
that's
it seems
raised
like it's a battle that happens
pretty
on a regular basis.
pretty often.
Yeah.
Um,
But why? We don't
I
know.
don't know if it almost gives you like Valhalla feel of like a kind of a never-ending battle or whatever. But also the characters are so alien in this. Specifically like someone in the infirmary. It's almost, I don't know if it's futuristic or in the past or
Yeah.
fantasy or sci-fi.
Right, that's the question. Is this sci-fi or is it fantasy? We
Yeah.
don't know.
And I think that's a really cool aspect of this. I don't know another book that I'm sure there's been one, but for so many issues has been entertaining, and I understand. I'm not confused by the actions characters are taking or whatever, but I don't know what the, even where they are or anything. That is a really cool thing in this. It's almost like early Stranger Things where you didn't know what the upside down was.
Yeah.
You understood a little bit of like they're there. These are some of the rules there, but we don't know the larger picture, and I don't know if we're gonna learn it next issue or for a while, because now these characters are kind of in the middle of this.
Yeah, it's like somebody took sci-fi aliens and put them in a fantasy story.
Yeah, because there's parts of it almost feel like a world that Conan would walk through with these little like
but with aliens.
taverns and little marketplaces. But then like this infirmary, like the squid tentacle faced alien is there, and so it's very weird. But
It sounds like an insult. You tentacle faced alien.
But I really like it. I think it's a really interesting world,
Yeah.
and I love the character designs and everything. There's some things that you don't know, is that technology or is that magic? But yeah, if you're reading it, keep going, because it is only getting more interesting as it goes. If I knew from just issue 1 to issue 3, if I read these back to back, I'd be like, there must have been 75 issues between the two books.
Right.
But nope, only 3, and it's really cool. So here is your A cover. And we also have this Mezanti variant.
Well, I've got Superman Father of Tomorrow #2. And again, this is an Elseworld story where Jor-El was the one who came to Earth when Krypton exploded instead of Kal-El. What's interesting about this book that I was not expecting, and this is not a spoiler because it is the very first panel, is this issue is set 20 years after the first issue. There's a big time jump. And in that 20-year span, Jor-El has firmly established himself as this world's Superman, and he has also used his technology to make the world just simply better. He's used his knowledge of technology to be a more improved Superman than the Superman that we know in the main universe, but also to offer better technology and medical care and transportation and just all that kind of stuff all over the world. But he's a little bit distraught because even though that he has given the world all of this technology in an effort to make everything better for everybody, there are still people and organizations who have reverse engineered this technology and have made it into weapons. And that is not ever what he intended for them to do, but they've done it anyway. So in this, now that we're 20 years later, Lex Luthor and Lois Lane, they're both adults, and they both work with Jor-El, and Lex wants to counter those weapons that people have made by using Jor-El's technology to make non-lethal weapons of his own, but Jor-El won't have it. He says that that's not what this is intended for. I don't want to make weapons. We'll deal with those guys some other way. And Lex isn't really super happy with this. So Lex isn't really evil in this at all. I mean, he's legitimately working with Jor-El to do good things. But he and Jor-El definitely do not see eye to eye on this issue. And it kind of leads to a schism between the two, and that looks like it might escalate next issue. So by the end of this whole thing, we may get a classic Superman-Lex rivalry. I don't know for sure. That's not what happens here. But it's just really cool to see, 20 years later, Jor-El, which I guess 20 years later really isn't that far, is more current day
Yeah.
because he came to Earth earlier. Yeah, earlier than Kal-El did, I guess, because Lois was no,
No, it's the same
it's the
time.
same time.
So whereas Superman would have been 20 in
Yeah.
this,
So yeah, it's not. Yeah, I guess I had that wrong.
he's
It's
just
not
full. He's just a developed adult
right.
instead
Yeah,
of having to
it's just
grow
we
up
started with
there.
him as an adult, and now he's more of an adult. And
Mhm.
okay, so yeah, this kind of follows the same timeline, but we just didn't see him 20 years on the farm in Kansas, basically. But yeah, another really cool issue. A lot of differences, but it's cool to see. What I really liked is seeing how he used his technology to make himself a better Superman.
Mhm.
But I don't want to elaborate on that. But you'll see what I mean when you read it. This is the A cover, and it's the only one we have.
Well, next up, we're checking in with Venom. This is Venom 259. And this is definitely a setup issue for the Queen in Black story. This definitely is almost like a prequel to Queen in Black, as Rhaegar, the Skrull that we've actually been following for quite a while, um, is the one who knows of Null's return, and we saw him show up at the end of the previous issue of Venom. And he is talking to Mary Jane, who he is basically like, "Oh, we need Venom because Venom stopped Null before," and Mary Jane kind of has to inform him about the events of King in Black and how, yeah, I mean it was Venom, but it was mostly Eddie Brock who actually took out Null. And I thought this was cool because this does kind of a very loose recap of the
The end,
finale
yeah, King.
of King in Black,
Yep.
which I mean was so long ago now. It's nice to be like, oh yeah, the Captain Universe stuff
Hmm.
and all of that. But um, there's she has to kind of work out about this and about Venom and all that stuff. But the other story in here is with Dylan Brock, who finds Sleeper, who is the cat symbiote, um, and it has an idea for Dylan, but to do this idea, they need to go find um, Rick Jones, who is currently Captain Spider, which I kind of like his costume. It's
Yeah.
it's like a mix of like not Captain Britain, but he's got almost like a piratey shirt and
Yeah, he's got
stuff.
the Buccaneer boots
Yeah,
and the yeah.
but and he's got the toxin symbiote. And where does the toxin symbiote really want to be? That's kind of part of this. Also, MJ goes to an old friend to get help
Mm,
about the upcoming Null fight, and that I was really surprised. It's kind of one of those scenes of where you see her talking and you see the dialogue from someone else. You don't know who she's talking to, and you kind of have your theories as they're talking.
right.
But then when I saw it was, and it kind of references a storyline from a few years ago, I was
Hmm.
like, oh, that's kind of cool. I want to go back to this and see more of it. But a really cool issue of Venom, and it is like everyone's preparing for the Null story coming up,
Yeah.
and we see kind of who is now going to be informed about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, this straight up says to be continued in Queen and Black #1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So another really fun issue of Venom. We've got our A cover here. We have a Clayton Crane variant. We have an Edgeker variant. We have a Cocolo spot foil variant. We've got this really nice RB Silva design variant. I really like that one that we're selling for $6.99. And we have a 1 in 25 mana variant we're selling for $14.99.
Zatanna #3 comes out this week, and this is the end of the first story arc. It's really good. Still a little bit confusing. I was still confused by this story arc, but Zatanna actually travels to Hades looking for the plague spirit that she's been trying to chase down this whole time. And then she finally finds it in the possession of Agent Domains in France, who is the head of the new shoot. We talked about it before. The Department of the Department of Magic.
Yeah,
Basically.
instead of a department of dealing with aliens,
Yeah.
they've got a new branch that's dealing with like magic
and
stuff.
stuff. Yeah, so she finds that plague spirit. Agent Domains has it, and the two of them get into a big fight. I didn't quite understand what was going on during that fight, but it sure was pretty to look at. So hopefully the next story arc maybe is a little bit more restrained in regards to the high concept and how crazy it all gets. But it's a gorgeous book, and I mean I want to see what happens next.
Yeah, I want to say I kind of figured out what was going on while reading this issue. Maybe explained a little bit more of some of the previous issues, but there's a lot going on here about the ghosts and the Loa and all the things that are kind of brought into here. By the time we got to the end, I at least understood how it was wrapped up, and I was like, okay, I kind of. I may have not understood every story beat along the way, but I now kind of get where this is. And, when this series started, we were kind of like, it's cool that she's like the prime magus now, but it is kind of weird that she's just chose that and now she's that. And they bring it up in here where they're like, someone's talking to her and it's like, we don't fully know how you
we don't know how you did that.
How you just claimed this. I was like, okay, so maybe we're not supposed to.
Yeah, that may be
know
a history
the full
later.
Story yet.
Yeah. So beautiful book though. So definitely check it out if for nothing else than that. So this is the A cover. Oh yeah, we do have some variants. This is the Talaski variant. This is really nice. This is
the one I got. Yeah.
The Carl Cohen, or is it Carla?
Carla.
Yeah, Carla Cohen. Sorry about that. And then this is the that's the Chrissy Zulo, right? Yeah, Chrissy Zulo variant right there.
And yeah, it does. Like at the end of this, I was like, this feels like a very definitive end to the story. And it's like, oh yeah, I guess it's only a 3-issue.
I like 3-issue story arcs.
Yeah,
I wish we'd have more of that.
Yeah, set up a middle and then an end, and it's not drug out, and it does seem pretty interesting where it's going next.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all on board. Well, next up, I just want to briefly mention that we have a new Hellboy one-shot. This is Hellboy in the BPRD, The Monster Nivola, #1. This is from Mike Mignola, Christopher Golden, and Danielle Serra. And Danielle Serra is the artist and did this cover, so it's a very painterly issue, a very moody one. And it's about the town of Nivola that is, I don't want to say plagued by a monster. There's a monster there. And Hellboy and the BPRD are called in to deal with it. But the big part of this is raising the question of, just because something is called something, does that mean it's not something more? Like Hellboy's been called a monster, but he's not really.
Right.
Well, this thing, they call it a monster, but is that all it is, or is there more to it? Are you what people call you, or are you something behind that? And it's really interesting. It kind of, it deals with that and the parallels with Hellboy and this monster and the town that it resides in, and the people in the town. So it was a really fun one-shot. You don't have to have read all the other Hellboy in the BPRD. If you've read some Hellboy, you're good to go on this one. But again, I just am always happy when there's just a Hellboy story out. So there's our A cover, and it's the only cover I got to show.
This is Hornsby and Halo #14. It's been a long time since I've read a Hornsby and Halo book, but this is part 2 of the Unbelievable story arc, so I wanted to just check that out. And in this one, Tommy and his robot butler, they travel to Warwick, which is where Hornsby and Halo live, because he's trying to find Hornsby and Halo. And he knows that they are 2 of these unbelievables that his parents have been researching. And he thinks that if he can find them, that they might be able to help him find his parents. And so one night, Hornsby and Halo, they detect 2 demons are causing trouble, or they've escaped hell. So they go off to deal with those. And Tommy and his butler, his robot butler, follow them. And there's a bit of a mistaken identity at first. It's the classic, the good guys have to fight or at least argue with each other. But it's not long before all the cards are on the table, and Tommy Townsend understands what Hornsby and Halo are and who they are and that kind of thing. And Hornsby and Halo do decide to help Tommy find his parents. So this is gonna, and then this is gonna go into the Rockefellers for the next part. and so they're gonna meet the Rockefellers, which is pretty cool. So yeah, just wanted to check this out and see what this unbelievable story arc is all about.
And the next issue is in Rockefellers.
Yeah, Rockefellers.
And then back to
13, I think.
$1 trillion Kid.
That's right.
It's
yeah,
kind of
and that'll be a 4-part thing.
Yeah.
So this is the A cover, and that's the only one we have.
Well, now it's time to head into the Speed Force round. Gotta run real fast to get there. I was just imagining what if we had like a thing we hit and it was like an animated like tunnel that we were like,
Yeah.
as one of us talking, the other one has to like keep running.
Right.
But no, we've just got this regular thing here. But this is where we go through books a little bit faster. We don't show any of the variants, but we just want to make sure we mention some of these because we know there's a lot of fans out there. And I want to start off with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Echoes of the Empire #3. This is still, the tie-in with the theme park and kind of the, I don't want to say makeover it's getting, but they're changing the genre of or the era that the characters there are. And yeah, this issue is really fun because Vader's there and Blackspire Outpost tries to rally and rise up against Vader, and that's a really dumb idea. So this is not the final issue, but it does kind of feel like it ends part of the story here.
I've got Bizarro Year None #2, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to read this weekend. There was so much other stuff to read. This one I didn't make it, but just wanted to let you know it feels weird because it's the second issue. I hate not reading the second issue of something, but if you like the first issue, #2 is out this week.
I've got Invincible Universe Capes, issue #8. The last issue was the first appearance of Elemental, but this one is introducing Sparrow, who is a new character. After the murder of and the mystery of what happened to the character in the last issue, they are Sparrow and Captain Cosmic are teaming up to help try to solve that murder, but are they going to get caught in the crossfires as well? So another new character coming into Capes with this issue.
This is Swamp Thing 1989 #3, and in this one, Swamp Thing finds himself before the Big Bang because he's still falling backwards through time, and he finds himself at the Source. And the Source tells him that to get back to Abby, he'll have to go on a long and difficult journey. But of course, Swamp Thing is gung ho. He'll do whatever he has to do to get back to her. There's also a subplot with the demon Negril wanting to get revenge on John Constantine. I didn't quite understand all of that part, but John Constantine does play a pretty big part in this issue as well.
Lastly, for me, I have Justice League Dream Girls issue #4. It's the final issue of this 4-issue weekly series they've been doing for Pride Month. Dreamer and Galaxy take on the Key, the big villain here. But I think the standout part in this was actually the backup story in here by Klaus Janson. Did you read this?
I didn't get a chance to.
It was really interesting. So it is autobiographical story from Klaus Janson, which has a warning at the beginning of it because it contains some language and some things that are not for all ages,
Wow.
but about Klaus Janson growing up and his identity and kind of the parallels between kind of discovering himself and discovering his love of comics and being an artist. So it's partly like Pride Month, partly Klaus Janson trying to break into the comic business and interviewing and showing his portfolio and stuff. So I would say don't let the kids read the backup story unless you are with them and can explain the context of the language used for the time it was given. But yeah, I thought that part was really good, and just wrapping up this main story was fun as well.
Is that really all the ones you have left?
Yep.
Oh, I've got several more, but we'll speed through
gonna,
them real fast.
I'm just gonna sit back and listen.
Read a book. So this is Fireborn #3. I didn't get a chance to read this one either, but I did flip through it, and there is some crazy anime-looking action in this. So this is one that I'm definitely, since I'm a little bit behind now, I'm definitely going to catch up on this one when it's all collected. I think this is great for new readers or younger readers, or if you're looking to just jump in on something. This is really cool looking, like really great art and action. So I'm definitely going to get caught up on that. We have Amazing Spider-Man Spider-Versity #3. And in this one, the Ringmaster hypnotizes some fraternity guys who then attack a club that Gwen and Cindy's band is playing at. And say what you will about this book, but it's pretty fun seeing the younger spiders work together. They have good camaraderie with each other, and it's fun because they're not all the same age, and some of them are able to. They're on a college campus, and some of them can go to a club after they're done, but the younger ones can't, and that's kind of fun. So this was, I mean, it was enjoyable. We have Infernal Hulk number 8. And in this one, the Hulk, no, I'm sorry, not the Hulk. Iron Man, Bruce Banner, and Reed Richards, they look for ways to stop the Infernal Hulk. And they know that really the only thing that can beat a Hulk is another Hulk. Um, but Bruce is physically unable to transform into the Hulk anymore. But they do pick up an energy signature deep in the earth, and they follow that, and they find something very, very interesting there that may lead to the Bruce Banner being able to transform back into the Hulk. I don't know, but another really cool issue there. We have X-Men number 32, and this is the part 2 of the story where the science team they have to take on Department H while also trying to save Schwarzschild, who is a member of 3K, but he's comatose for some reason. There's some really good Magneto moments in this one, so I'm really enjoying this main run of X-Men. This probably should have been up in the main part of the show because this issue is amazing. This is also one of my top books of the week. Flash number 34. Flash goes to Mr. Terrific to try to get some helpful insight as to why he's having these flashes of insight, these brief glimpses into the future. And Mr. Terrific does have a hypothesis about why he's doing this, and it turns out that he's right. And Flash uses this new information to stop Gorilla Grodd and his army from invading Central City, but not in the way you expect. And there is a double-page spread in this that is the coolest and most fun and most creative thing I've seen in a comic book in a long time. It shows why comic books are a great medium for storytelling. It's a double-page spread that you will spend some time looking at. It's like nothing I've seen in a comic book in a very, very long time. So, Ryan North and Gavin Guidry, they did a great job with it. So very amazing issue of Flash. And the last one I have is Wonder Woman number 34, which is part 4 of the Wonder War story. It is a big knockdown, drag-out fight between Wonder Woman and the Matriarch, and there is a surprising twist that happens during this, and an even more surprising ending as well. So if you've been reading this, don't miss part 4. And that is all for me.
So it was a light week.
You're right.
No, this was a big week, so hopefully this helped you make your decisions when you go to the comic book store or you head over to infinityflux.net. Either one of those, maybe you know a little bit more about some of these big issues, or if you're having to make some tough decisions, this or that, this will help you with that as well. But, again, infinityflux.net, order books right now while supplies last so you don't miss out on some of these selling out, especially variants, that kind of thing, sell out very, very fast. Stay tuned for our video coming up on Wednesday where we'll be going over some of the big books you can pre-order by this weekend. You're still here for a live show on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just always expect you to
No.
be like, I'm not going to be here.
No.
Where we'll be doing our live video, our letters page, but also our New 52 review, where we'll be covering Batgirl number 1. So if you're following along, check out the 2011 Batgirl number 1 to read along with us. And make sure to like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff so you don't miss any of our videos. I don't know what to say anymore because that was a lot of comics.
Yep.
But until next time,
See ya.